Hi, this is Krista at the Secret Yarnery. Today we are joining up our Secret Stitches Cal 2021 squares using this really delicate, beautiful flat braid join. It is super easy to do, looks gorgeous, looks super complicated, but you can totally do it. You'll need about 250 grams of your joining color yarn, and that is enough to go around the outside edge, just so that it matches what we have done in the center. So get your yarn, your hook, and let's get started. So grab your first square and the yarn you're going to use to join. And for the first square, it doesn't matter which corner you start in. So just grab a corner that you haven't used before for joining. Put your hook in. Loop of yarn on your hook. Bring it through and slip stitch with both strands to join. Drop your tail and chain 1. So that counts as our first single crochet. We can work over our tail a little bit, and now we're just going to go into this very first stitch and make 1 single crochet. And 1 single crochet into each stitch all along the side. You can drop that tail, we can work it in going the other direction later. And now just 1 single crochet into each stitch. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you when we get closer to the next corner. So I've gone into my last stitch before the corner. So into the corner space, our corners are 1 single crochet, chain 2, and 1 single crochet. Now working into this very first stitch, we're working into the front of our previous row, so the stitch is before the post. So make sure you go into this very first stitch right after your corner. And that's what you're going to do for this entire round. 1 single crochet into each stitch and corners of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, making sure to go into that very first stitch after your corner. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you get back to where you started. When you get back to where you joined, 1 single crochet into that corner space and chain 2. 1, 2. Now we're going to slip stitch right in between the legs of where we joined, of that slip stitch we made. We're going to slip stitch right into that stitch. So just pop your hook in and 1 slip stitch. So that finishes the first round of the join. Rotate your work a little bit. We're not going to turn. We're still working into the pretty side of our square. And chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to skip 2 stitches. So our first stitch is right where our chain is. So skipping that one, skipping the second, going into the third. 1 single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Skip 2 and into the third, 1 single crochet. So you can pause the video and keep working along this side of your round, doing a chain 4, skipping 2 and single crochet into the third, all the way along until you reach the corner. When you get to your corner, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and single crochet into that corner space. To do your corner, chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Rotate your work a little bit and 1 single crochet into that same corner space. So that is our corners for this pattern. So now before we get going, just count how many loops you have along whatever edge you just did. If it was a side, you'll have 19 of these loops, not counting your corner. So just along the side, 19 loops. If you did a top or bottom, you will have 17 of these loops. Just want to keep an eye, make sure you have the right number of loops. It doesn't totally matter if your count is off. You just want your loops to be the right number. So working along the next side, keeping an eye for that very first stitch. That stitch right there counts. So that is 1 and 2. We want to go into number 3. And we're just going to be doing the same thing. So chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and single crochet into the third stitch. So now pause the video and keep working along the rest of your square, and I will meet you when you get back to where we started. When you approach the corner where we started, just look for that chain 2 space. So do your regular chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and single crochet right into that corner space. 1 single crochet. Chain 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we're going to slip stitch just into this very first chain. Just right here. So slip stitch into that first chain. Chain 1 and cut your yarn. Pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. So there is our first square complete. We've worked all the way around. Now the rest of our squares we are not going to finish all the way around. We're going to leave 1 or 2 sides without the loops depending on how we're joining. So get your next square, we want to make sure it's side versus side, pretty side facing up if there is a pretty side, and your stitches going up. So bottom of your block is here, top of your block is there, side by side. And the next block, we're just going to be joining on one side. So we're going to finish our block, our last row, going down along this side. So we're going to start right here. So figure out where you're joining, figure out where you're ending, and put your hook into that square. Now you're going to do the exact same thing as we did with our first square, leaving off our last row. So pause the video, repeat what we did on the first row on this row, starting right where we put our hook in, where we had it all laid out, and I will meet you when you are right here. So here is the actual block I'm joining next. I have done single crochet all the way around and loops all the way around on 3 sides. So 1, 2, and 3. The joining side is empty, no loops yet. So pinch both of those blocks and give them a little rotate. I always like the block I have finished to be up above my workspace. So get yourself situated like this, and we're starting right here. So in the corner of the block I am joining, I have done my single crochet into that corner space, and we're just going to do half of our loop. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Pull a loop up, kind of hold it, grab your hook, put your hook down into the opposite loop, that corner loop, and loop back on your hook, your working yarn. Bring it through the loop we are joining to and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So we're just going to finish our corner now. So single crochet into the corner space and chain 2. 1, 2. So for our loops, we're just going to do half of our loop, and then we are going to make a big loop, take our hook out, put your hook in to the opposite loop of the square you've already finished, put that loop back onto your hook, shrink it down, bring it through, and then finish the loop on the block we're doing. So chain 2, 1, and 2. Now we're going to skip those first 2 stitches and single crochet into the third. Chain 2, 1, 2. Make a bigger loop, give it a little pinch so you don't lose it. Find the next loop. So I've taken my hook out. Find the next big loop, put your hook in, shrink down that loop back on your hook, bring it through, and finish your chain. So chain 2, 1 and 2. Skip 2 stitches, single crochet into the third. So we're just doing this pretty little braid, this pretty little join, and it looks like it's looping up and down. That's because we are taking out our hook. If you don't want to take out your hook, you'll still get a nice join, but it won't look like you actually braided it. So it is worth taking your hook out and putting the loop back on later. So to start the next one, chain 2, 1, 2. Make a bigger loop and just give it a pinch so you don't lose it. Hook down into the next loop of the block you have finished. Working yarn back on your hook. Shrink it down, bring it back up, and chain 2, 1 and 2. Skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet. And start your next one. So chain 2, 1 and 2. Make a bigger loop, pinching it. Hook down into the next loop of the block you have finished. Working yarn back on your hook, bring it through and up, and chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're just going to do this all the way along the side. That is how we're going to be doing our pretty little join. So skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet, and start your next one. So chain 2, 1 and 2. Pull up a loop, hold it with your finger and thumb, put your hook down into the next loop of the square you have finished, working yarn back on your hook, bring it up, and chain 2, 1 and 2. Skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet. And we're just going to repeat this all the way along. So take your time, chain 2, pinch and pull up your hook, hook down into the next loop of the block you have finished, working yarn back on your hook, bring it up and through, and chain 2, 1, 2. Skip 2 stitches of the block you're working on, single crochet into the third, and just keep going. So pause the video and keep working your way along, and I'll meet you when you get closer to the corner. So when you reach your corner space, we are going to do our corner on the square we are working on, and we're going to join to the corner of the square we have finished. So to do that, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And now we're just going to do the same thing, but our corners were a chain 6. So we're going to do 3 before the join, bring it through, and chain 3 after the join. And now we're going to join with a little slip stitch right into that very first chain we made, right there. So slip stitch to join. One little slip stitch, and chain 1 to secure your yarn. Cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through, and snug that down to secure. So that is what our join looks like. So pretty. So now go ahead and get your next block ready with one side without the last row of loops, making sure that it's side to side, and join the next block in the same way, and I will meet you when we are starting the second row. So I have joined my top 3 squares, and now we're ready to start row 2. So again, keep your finished work where you are joining to above you on your workspace. So now get your next square ready, 3 sides completed. So we're still joining on one side, but we are going to join a little bit different on this one corner. So pause the video, get your next square ready, one side without loops, and I'll meet you back. So I've completed 3 sides of loops on the square I'm joining. We're just joining on one side. And we're going to start right here. And we have just done our 1 single crochet into that corner space. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Make a bigger loop. And now we're going to go in to the block kitty corner. We're going to go into this corner right here. of my hot pink block. So we're not joining straight across. We're gonna join kitty corner. We're gonna join like this. So hook down into the space of the block that is opposite. Put that loop back on your hook. Bring it up and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Back into your corner space, 1 single crochet, chain 2, and now we are joining like we did for just joining the one side. So pull your hook up, take your hook out, find that next loop on the block you have finished, hook down, working yarn back on, bring it up and chain 2. 1 and 2. Skip 2 stitches and into the third, 1 single crochet. So now this is exactly like we joined our other 2 blocks. So pause the video and keep joining along, same as we did for our other blocks, and I'll meet you back when we are ready to join our next block on 2 sides. Go ahead and get your next block ready. Make sure it's lined up side by side, top by top, and look at the 2 sides that you're going to be joining along. Find where your join is going to end and pop your hook in there. That is where you're going to start your row. So now do your row of single crochet all the way around and do your row of loops on 2 sides, just like this. And so I have loops on 2 sides and 2 sides without any loops. So the 2 sides without loops is where we are joining. So get your work situated. I've just done my 1 single crochet into that corner and we're going to be joining over here. So after your first single crochet into that corner, chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, hook up, make a little bit of a larger loop, pinch it, and now we're going to be looking for this space right over here. So the corner of the block, kitty corner. So into our red block, or my red block, put your hook down into that corner loop and working yarn back on your hook, bring it up and through and finish that corner. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Single crochet back into that corner space. Chain 2, 1, and 2. Loop up, hook in to the opposite block, and now we're doing it just exactly the same as we have for all the other joins. So you can pause the video and I'll meet you at the next corner. So when you finish your last loop, finish into that corner space with your 1 single crochet. And now we are ready to do our corner. So chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Loop up, hook down into our kitty corner block, right across. So that is going to go over, where did that tail? There we go. That is going to go right here. So we're going to jump over all of this crochet. We're going to go right into this corner, same as we were, hook down, loop back on your hook, bring it up, and chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. Now we want to rotate our work a little bit. Always your finished block on top and the block we are joining to down below. And into that corner space, 1 single crochet to finish the corner. Chain 2 to start your next loop. Into the first loop of the block we're joining to. Loop of yarn back on your hook and chain 2, 1 and 2. Skip 2 into the third stitch, 1 single crochet. So that's how we join on 2 sides in the corner. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and just keep going doing the same join we always have all the way along until this block is also joined. So now keep going, joining on 2 sides and then starting a new row, joining on 1 side and that kitty corner join, and build your way across row after row until all of your squares are joined. So pick any corner that you are going to start your next braid with. Just put your hook down into that loop of the same yarn on your hook. Bring it through, slip stitch with both strands to join and drop your tail. and chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Into the next loop, the next space, 1 half double crochet, chain 2, into the next loop, 1 half double crochet, chain 2, 1 half double crochet, and we're just going to work along the side of our blanket doing this nice little repeat, and we're doing half double crochets. We want it to look just like the other side. So chain 2, half double crochet, chain 2, half double crochet. So pause the video and keep working along, doing the chain 2 and half double crochet into the loop all the way along until you reach the first join. I'll meet you when we get to this spot. When you get to your join, chain 2, 1, 2, make 1 half double into the first half of the join, 1 half double, make a half double into the second half of the join. So we're just not going to chain in between these half doubles. Just like that. And now keep going as usual, doing your chain 2 and half double crochet into each loop all the way along, and I will meet you when we get to the corner. When you reach the corner, do your last half double crochet into that last loop, chain 2, 1 and 2, and into the corner loop, 1 half double crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Rotate your work a little bit so we can work along the next side. And 1 more half double crochet into that same corner loop. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and half double crochet into the next loop along the side. So now pause the video and keep working along, doing your chain 2 and half double crochet into each loop, and each corner gets a half double crochet, chain 4, and half double crochet. So pause the video and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. When you get back to the corner where you joined, just get there, so do your regular chain 2 and half double crochet into that corner loop, and chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to slip stitch right into that first slip stitch we made. Just in the middle of those legs, we're going to put our slip stitch right there. So put your hook in and slip stitch, and chain 1. Rotate your work a little bit so we're working along the new side. Into the same stitch, 1 single crochet, and 2 single crochets into the chain space, 1 and 2, 1 single crochet into the stitch, 2 into the space, 1 into the stitch, 2 into the space. So now we're just putting on our row of single crochet. So that will finish up our nice join, and you will be welcome to put any border on after this. So 1 single crochet into each stitch and 2 single crochets into each space all the way along. When you get close to your join, just get those last 2 single crochets into the space before. 1 and 2. And now we're going to combine these 2 stitches into 1, just to keep our stitch count as 3. So go in and bring your yarn back. Go into the second stitch and bring your yarn back, and finish both of those stitches together. So that is a single crochet decrease. And now keep going, doing 2 single crochets into each space and 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way along until you reach the corner. When you get close to your corner, work into that last space with your 2 single crochets, 1 and 2, and 1 single crochet into the stitch. Now this is our corner, so 1 single crochet into that stitch, 2 single crochets into the corner space, chain 2, 1 and 2. Rotate your work so you can work along the new side. And 2 single crochets into that same space. 1 and 2. 1 single crochet into the stitch. And that's how we're going to do our corners. So working into the stitch, 2 into the space, chain 2, 2 more into the space, and 1 into the stitch. So pause the video and keep working around on your row of single crochet, and I'll meet you when you get back to where we started. When you get back to where you started your single crochets, just keep working along. We have to finish off that corner. So 2 single crochets into the space before the corner, 1 into the stitch, 2 into the corner space, chain 2, rotate to start working along the last side, and 2 more single crochets into that corner space. Now we are ready to join. You can do a slip stitch or an invisible join. To slip stitch, you'll just go into that first single crochet right there and make your slip stitch, just like this. Chain 1, cut your yarn, pull your hook up and your yarn through and snug that down to secure. If you want to do an invisible join, don't be scared of it. It is not as tricky as you think. So just take out that slip stitch and I'll show you how to do an invisible join. So I've cut my yarn after my last single crochet, and now I'm going to pull my hook up and my yarn through that single crochet. Just like that. Now thread your needle. For this, for invisible joins, I like to use a blunt needle. If you're using a sharp tip, then you can use the back end with the eye. So thread your needle. And now you want to look at your row of single crochets. You're going to go into the same stitch that you were going to slip stitch to. So that first single crochet, you're just going to go in with your needle instead of your hook, bringing that yarn with you, and you want to keep an eye on where the yarn is coming from. See that stitch where it's coming from? This guy here. We want to go back down into that stitch. Just like that. And that's it. That was the invisible join. So you can totally do it. And now shrink it down. You want it to look like another stitch. See, just like that. So that is an invisible join, not hard at all. Sounds so much more difficult than it really is. And now just sew in your tail. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as much as I did. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and the notification bell beside that, so you don't miss out on any more quick and easy tutorials just like this. I'd love to see what you joined up with this gorgeous flat braid join. You can find me over on Instagram at Secret Yarnery or Facebook, The Secret Yarnery. We also have a Facebook group, The Secret Yarnery Crochet Community. Great place to upload your photos and ask questions. And thanks so much for hooking along. We'll see you in the next video, and stay hooked. Oh, I love this so much. These colors are everything.